The regression analysis result that you have found in for the experiment exclusion and credibility, in which you found an effect of accent.
Yes. So,
and if you look this, I don't get how is the trend. It seems at some points more accented, more credible.
okay. So I didn't go into this just now because it's kind of complicated. So if you look at it, it is not a very clear relationship. Like you can't be like, oh yes, clearly accents do this. But if you consider how accents were scored, so in this study specifically, scores between 1 and 3 were local.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the local accents, they were scored here. And the regional accents were scored here. So there seems to be kind of an effect where stronger accents are judged more true than accents that are kind of in the middle. But I didn't look at that in too much detail, so I can't say with complete certainty.
But if it were the case, how did you explain the effect that more accented speech is more credible?
Well, this is conjecture. This
Yeah.
is my
Yeah.
idea. So, in my opinion, it seems like if you know perfectly well where a person is from, you were able to tease that out of your assessment of the truth. So, there was a study where they compared mild and strong accents, and when you told the person you're going to hear someone that has an accent, so they're going to be difficult to understand, they were able to tease that apart, and they were able to assess the truth value the same between people that had mild accents and no accents. So I think the case is sort of similar, where because you can tell, oh, this person is local, this person is foreign, you're able to be like, oh, never mind, forget about that. Whereas if they're somewhere in the middle, you might have some doubts about where the person is from, and you're kind of, I don't know, unable to set them aside.
Okay. So you briefly mentioned this idea in your discussion, and it is that the set of speakers that you use with regional accents was quite diverse. So you have people from Argentina, people from Cuba. That the accent is very, very different. Do you expect different results if suppose that instead of using this wide variety of regional accents, you use only people from Argentina, different people from Argentina? So do you think the diversity on the regional accents that you use has something to do with the fact that you did not find any effect?
So, yes and no. So the reason why I used several accents is because I did not want to confound accent itself and where the person is from.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of positive and negative connotations with where a person is from. So I do think the results will be different, but I don't think necessarily it'd be different because they have an accent, but rather you know where they're from. And so you have all these other things about where this person is from, their socioeconomic status, their education level.
Yeah, because that was another question that I had, is that I think you also mentioned in the introduction that there are like two possible ways in which foreign accent could modulate processing. One is social. That is exactly that you attribute certain ideas to the person depending on where they are living.
Yes. I got it.
The second one is a perceptual difference. It's a perceptual problem. It's just because they pronunciate phonemes in a different manner, you have more difficulties processing what they are saying. So I understand that you favor the social interpretation of the.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I also tried to keep intelligibility pretty high, and if you look at the intelligibility scores for the regional accents, it was still on a scale from 1 to 9, it was like 8 on average.
Okay.
So it was difficult to say that. Well, it's an intelligibility issue when it's so small.
Yeah.
Between the two groups, so that's kind of also why I favored this week.
Yes. Sarah?
Thanks for your presentation. I found the essay very clearly written, especially the introduction section. I'm still scratching my head over these diagrams here.
Yeah.
Really, but I understood the methods just by reading the section. My question, well, I have several questions, but I guess at one of them is what? So you use the signal detection parameter for experiment 1, then you didn't use it for experiment 2 or 3.
Correct.
For, I don't know why.
I'm not sure how I would use it with.
Well, there's statements that are factually true and statements that are not, right? So
Right.
you have similar noise.
Interesting. I didn't think about it that way.
I mean, I would expect that if people don't know that information, then your D prime would be 0. But then the second part of my question, I think that would be perhaps a little bit more interesting for you to measure, is the bias parameter. So the signal detection theory has two parameters, no? The sensitivity, which probably will not vary in any of your experience, but also the bias parameter. And I think that if your underlying hypothesis is what, like Pamma was asking, no, if it's more of a social predisposition or something like that, then I guess that the impact of your manipulation will be more on the bias, the decision criterion, the decision boundary of responses, more than in the sensitivity parameter. No.
Okay.
So I would say my impression is that, for instance, in the second experiment, no, that you might not expect people to be able to tell truth from wrong because they don't know that, and the action will not help. But maybe you will find some shift in the criterion, so it will be harder to say true, maybe when the action is regional versus local.
So here we're looking at exactly that. So you have regional accents and local accents, true and false. And there's really no interaction there at all. So even though I didn't calculate the D prime, I did try to see if there was some interaction
But
between.
here you're mixing responses in which people correctly said that something was true when it was true,
Oh, I see.
versus when people said it was true when it was not.
Right.
So, and that is what the signal detection method will tell you, tell apart, right? And I think that would be perhaps interesting for you to explore.
Yeah,
Because
I
maybe
know.
you'll find some differences there. No?
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it that way because I was working with the assumption that they didn't know the statements. So yeah, I could
It's
go
a
back and see it.
possibility, no?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I really hadn't thought about it.
I have more questions. In your local accent speakers, some type to speakers probably were not very local, let's say. Have you tried to run the analysis by excluding two people that were not so probably more accented? Or that can explain to some extent your some data, some effect of accent, despite the fact that we are local or regional.
I did not actually. But both those people had been living in Barcelona for 5 to 6 years, and so their accents weren't very strong. And also in the accent rating, they were still within the local. So there was a separation between the people that were judged as local and the people that were judged as regional. So that's why